But in this particular part of the book, Repentance, he talks about longing. And I wanted to kind of, spend a little time on that word longing so you can understand and really connect with it. Because here he says, there's a part in the description of godly sorrow, and that it's that longing, right? Longing for God. So it says here, in the previous section, and I'm not going to go elaborate on it, but I will mention that he speaks of that having the fear of the Lord persuades people, right? Knowing fear helps us to, and again, I know originally we think of fear, we think we're afraid in a bad way. The fear is the respect, the awe, ooh, God is like awesome. He's capable, like he's just, like I'm messing with God, that kind of respect. You do have to fear God. You have to fear the consequences because he's a just God, and he's going to give appropriate consequences for those who are living an unrepentant life continually again and again. And that's the truth. And I'm not here to sugarcoat any of this. I don't believe in sugarcoating it. I believe in telling you straight out the message. But this is one important aspect of God that we cannot ignore, we cannot push back, and we cannot pretend that is not there, because it is. It is part of the justice, the big, huge justice system that is God's justice system, that is the best justice system. So, but here's what he says that's really encouraging, right? It says, but through love. So through fear, we recognize, this is what fear does. Through fear, we recognize that sin alienates us, isolates us, right, from God, separates us. And that in itself is scary. You don't want to be separated from God. And if you once were, you know what that feels like. And if you are now, you know what that feels like. And so you don't want to be there. You don't want to stay there. It says, but through love, we long to restore our fellowship with God. That is the longing. We long to restore our fellowship with God. He goes on to talk about, I love the way Anton writes this book, because he uses the Greek and Latin words, and he goes into the meaning of the original words that can, so he kind of gets really deep into this. So he explains it more, and then you see that it's not just his interpretation. This is scholar stuff. Like, this book goes into the original language, all of it. So, I encourage you to read it if you haven't yet, but it is just amazing. But another thing it says is without the acknowledgement of separation, there's no cause for longing, right? Like, you ever heard that saying that says, you don't know what you have until it's gone? I think almost everyone has. It's kind of like that. I once, if you listen to my restoration story, I tell you about it. I once didn't know what I had until it was gone, until I felt that it was gone. Because there was those years that I didn't feel that it was gone. I was just living in my life and just choosing to do whatever I wanted to do. But then when I felt that I was separated, when I felt that I longed again. And that was an important part of my repentance journey. And it's still an important part of my daily repentance, my daily walk with God, living that repentant life. That's what I'm here to really speak to you about. This is why I come here weekly or bi-weekly to come and speak to you about that. Living that repentant life is so important as Christians, as disciples of Jesus. It says, while fear alerts us to the reason for our longing immediately eclipses our fear. And that is amazing, right? Perfect love drives out fear. 1 John 4:18, because fear has to do with punishment. So in the end, it's that perfect love, right? It's that perfect love we long. Think about the person that you long for the most. If there is someone like that in your life right now, think about how you feel. Multiply that by like 1,000,000. That is how much our souls, whether we realize it or not, long for God. If you don't have a relationship with God, you know that there's an empty part in your soul, and you're always looking for an answer, and you're always searching, and you're always trying to find something or someone to fill it in. like I did for 4 years, and for even before I was baptized, the 4 years that I was away from God and before I was baptized and got, came to Christ. So I want to leave you with that today. Again, if you do not have a relationship with God, search for God, find God, reach out. You know, I am happy to help as well. You can reach out and comment below. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate taking your time to listen to this episode and this video. If you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on my podcast channels, I so appreciate it. I pray that this will encourage your hearts and your souls, and that this will continue to strengthen your relationship with God daily.